All right, what's up, guys? Uh, Overwatch Solutions Group back at you again with another little piece of kit. Med bags. First off, this is the Spirit Systems Delta bag. They came out with it earlier this year. Um, I like it because it was a little bit bigger than the one I previously had in my truck, which was a 511 like Moab 10 or something like that. The sling bag. This one, I like it more because it's not as complex in terms of how it's set up with its pockets and zipper systems, and there's not a bunch of little pockets and things like that. It's pretty straight to the point, and I also like that it's a two-strap design, like backpack style. So we'll kind of go through this. We'll talk about a couple things in terms of medical stuff. So that loud bang you just heard was actually a carabiner. So I strapped this to the middle back seat of my truck using a carabiner system like for rock climbing. I basically lashed it around there, and so it hooks on via carabiner by that top carry handle. So I can just reach back there, unhook it, and also, if you're in a collision, things like that, like it's really unlikely that this would get broken off due to these heavy-duty carabiners and the strapping system I have on there. It's pretty robust. So, kind of work our way around the outside first, and then we'll go from there. So, on the outside, tourniquets. Again, following March algorithm, if you guys don't know this, and in the March, massive hemorrhaging. Bleeding is going to be the first thing that causes, that causes death, so to speak. So, trauma situations specifically, gunshot wounds, stabbings, car wrecks, things like that, massive bleeding, massive hemorrhaging. People like this, they like to throw time limits on there. You got like 45 seconds till you're basically unconscious, and then essentially like 90 seconds till you're dead. Basically, if you see a crap load of blood squirting out of somebody's arm or leg, they don't have much time to live. So tourniquets, keep on the outside, at least 3, just for a quick, easy access, using just spongy retainer systems, just because that's one of the first things I grab. A litter. All right, this is from North American Rescue. The Delta bag has these little grommet holes in the bottom, you can kind of see here, and basically just feed bungee around through there and tighten it down, and I just keep a litter on here, also known as a man sack. Important because I've seen it a handful of times where patients have to be loaded onto, say, like a gurney, and they don't lay down a litter, and it takes a lot more creativity, a lot more skill to be able to lift someone onto the gurney to get them loaded up, or to get them loaded up into a vehicle. With something like this, like a a man sack, you can basically throw it underneath them. There's certain techniques on how to do it too, roll them over, tucking it underneath, and then rolling them back. But you can make it a lot easier to load someone into an elevated position, like the back of a pickup truck or the back seat of a car or a gurney to get loaded into an ambulance, something like that, because of all the straps and carry handles that it has around it. And there's different drag techniques, a bunch of, you could do a whole video on techniques and how to relate it to a man sack. So keeping one on this kit, I think is important because it just makes extracting someone that much easier. Trauma shears as well. Good to have, just readily accessible, because once you get that bleeding stop using tourniquets, you're going to need to start cutting clothing away in order to find other bleeds or other injury. All right, so these front pockets here, this bottom pocket, just a couple more tourniquets and another pair of trauma shears. These are kind of lashed together. Just another cat T, and then another soft T wide. If you guys don't know this already, I think I've done it in previous videos. Pretty much the only tourniquets I carry for adult human use are cat T's and soft T wides. These have been, proven both, overseas as well as, domestically. So cat T's, soft T wides, the only tourniquets to go for adult humans. I say that because I also carry these. Previous video I talked about these SWAT T's. I wouldn't trust my life with these, but small child, animal, like canine, these work great, all right? Another use for these is something like compression wrap, all right? Say you have some type of penetrating wound and you got it filled with, quick clot and combat gauze, and it's filled to the brim, and you don't have any type of trauma dressing or bandage to hold that stuff in and to keep direct pressure on it. Something like wrapping one of these around where that quick clot got put in will help maintain that pressure on that wound. All right, I'll try not to pull everything out because then I don't want to put it all back in. Just a bunch of different gloves wrapped up together in pairs, and hand sanitizer, because if you have the time to sanitize your hands or an area, it makes everything a lot better in terms of infection and less risk of. Kind of tuck that back in there. All right, this next pouch, I keep an emergency blanket and these TacMed Solutions Elias bandages. All right, if you don't know what these are, look them up. All right, there's a good video on them. So they have this little cup in here, and what this cup is designed to do is any type of penetrating injury, any type of injury that needs direct pressure on it, you essentially place that pad with that cup directly over that spot that you want to apply that pressure, and then you wrap like you would a normal trauma dressing. Right, so it's basically applying direct pressure using this cup. So I got to keep a couple of those in there. And then this top pocket is all quick clot and hemostatic gauze, different sizes. So this stuff, like this combat gauze, I think it's 5 feet. 4 yards, 4 yards. So 4 yards, roughly, what is that, 12 feet? The thing is I've seen guys go through 2 of these with 1 gunshot wound. So you're gonna need more than you probably think. So I keep, 3 of these in there, plus 2 of these big ones in there. That stuff goes quick. All right, main compartment. I'll do the best I can since this thing folds out wide. All right, so these Spirit Assisted Med Tray inserts, all right, these things are like basically impossible to find. I've gotten lucky because a couple of times I've checked their website, they'll have them up there, so I buy them. These things are great, right? Because yeah, they're designed kind of like how I have them set up here for different medical equipment, things like that, but you can use them for literally anything. So in here, I'll kind of go through this briefly. It's basically just trauma dressings for right now. This space is left intentionally open because I do have some burn dressings coming to me soon, and that's where I'm going to be placing them. All right, now these are just different sizes trauma dressing. Your standard Israeli bandages. This is just a SAM splint, medical tape, and just a little pen light, so that way I can see if it's dark in here and I need to grab something. Underneath this SAM splint, it's kind of hard to see. It's just basically a big abdominal dressing, so essentially like a giant, one of those big, like, I don't know, it's like a 6x6 or an 8x8 trauma dressing. One of these TacMed Solutions blast bandages, designed really for any type of amputation type injury, because it basically cups and then folds around and then wraps. ace bandage because, you know, and we'll talk about this, in a second, but you're more likely to, sprain your ankle than you are to get, shot in the chest by somebody, at least in the continental U.S. So it's just good to have, and then a handful of MPAs tucked in here as well. All right, nothing too exciting, no, syringes, no, medicine, anything like that. It's really just quick treatment options, and then moving to higher level care. All right, now the back side. So the back side has these two little pockets. If you don't know, they're kind of like flat pockets. All right, this top one, it's all just chest seals. Keep them back here just so they keep them nice and flat. Hyphens, Fox, things like that. So again, just chest seals up there, a handful of them up here. And this bottom pocket is actually probably more realistic of what you'd probably use on a day-to-day basis, okay? So in here, I just have like antibacterial ointments, insect repellents, ibuprofen, Motrin, things like that. Antidiarrheals, little things like that. And then in here is your basic, quote unquote boo-boo kit type stuff, just Band-Aids, alcohol wipe pads, different size Band-Aids, stuff like that. All right, this is more likely what you'd probably end up using on a day-to-day basis than pretty much anything else in here. Not to say that you'll never use it, but you have a higher likely chance of, cutting your finger on something than you do, like I said, getting shot. And then some moleskin, just for like blisters and things like that. So now, everything in here, the normal everyday person can buy. Like I said, there's no crazy morphine, IV drips, needle decompression needles, anything like that. This is designed to be kept in my truck, and essentially it's what are you most likely to encounter on a day-to-day basis. Not a huge crazy gunfight, but probably a vehicle collision. The thing is my line of work too. Yeah, the chances of gunshot wounds, penetrating injuries, those are a lot higher for what I do. But at the same time, I usually surround myself with a half dozen guys that have plenty of this stuff on them together, so I don't necessarily carry this with me at work. There are times when I do grab it and I do throw it in my vehicle, depending on what we're doing that day. But for the most time, this lives in my personal truck, right in the middle of the back seat. So if something were to happen, I can just unhook this from that carabiner system, throw it on my back, and I'm good to go. The other thing is too, is kind of the other videos I talked about, my nut ruck and that little chest rig I keep in there. So that's part of this package, all right? So if I have to leave my vehicle for whatever reason, rifle, nut ruck, chest rig, and if I have time and the capabilities to do so, I will grab this as well. Why? Because I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. All right, and if you've never heard that before, there's a lot of things, at least in the preparedness world, mindset, everything. There's a lot of situations where that phrase does apply. So again, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. All right. So that's the Spirit Systems Delta bag, the med bag that I keep with me. Oh, and the other thing too, so one last thing, just because I took it off earlier, but just a roll of medical tape and some chem lights, all right? These chem lights, really just for signaling purposes, all right? At night, whatever, you can throw it on a patient, like triage situation, keep it on you, keep it on the bag, that way A, illuminates the area and notifies any type of higher level care arriving on scene of where your location is exactly. Because again, working at night, I still have to do it at work all the time, where rescue is showing up and I have to take my flashlight out and basically strobe them to death in order for them to find us. And we're in an urban environment in the city, so having some type of signaling system will help. Eventually, too, I plan on adding just a VS17 panel tucked in here as well. Again, just for signaling purposes, for any type of like overhead situation, like medevac helicopter or a drone, things like that. Just again, just to signal my location and the location of patient or anything like that. Appreciate it, guys. If you have any questions, obviously drop them in the comment section or send me a DM on Instagram. And appreciate all the support and gained a decent amount of followers in the last couple weeks, and so hopefully you guys are getting some out of all this content that's getting put out. And again, I just want to say thank you to everyone. All right, stay safe.